Pre-season testing is finally underway and day 2 turned out into a huge chaos in complete Formula 1 style, as once again the cars proved to be stronger than the asphalt they are driving on. This unfortunate event has resulted in the morning session being cut short, and F1 has now once again received a huge backlash for its track management. Day 2 certainly isn't passing the vibe check. If only we could enjoy a nice and clean weekend of racing for once. The victim of bad circuit preparation? Yep, you guessed it, Ferrari. They for sure aren't having much luck with drain covers lately, with Carlos Sainz in Las Vegas and now Charles Leclerc in Bahrain testing. In the morning, while driving circuits at the Sakir track, the red flags were flown, causing some uncertainty as the drivers returned to the pits one by one. Shortly after the 2-hour mark, these red flags were raised for no obvious reason, but it soon became clear that a drain cover had burst at turn 11. Replays revealed that Charles Leclerc had dislodged it with his Ferrari before Lewis Hamilton went over the section of cover, prompting little pieces to fly around. After Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton were engaged in a drain cover incident, Leclerc returned to the pits with his Ferrari disguised by screens, while the other 9 drivers pitted due to the red flag. The car was quickly inspected and no big damage was found at first. But shortly after this, Ferrari did confirm that it has changed the floor of Leclerc's car. Following Charles's accident this morning, when he drove over a drain cover, the floor was damaged and we have now changed it, Ferrari stated. Hamilton's Mercedes W15 was put onto the jacks so the crew could check the car's floor, but fortunately for Mercedes there wasn't enough damage to require the floor to be changed. Track authorities swiftly arrived at turn 11 to check the hole made by the missing drain cover. Marshals began going through the track and scrutinizing each drain cover. This isn't the first time Ferrari has been engaged in a drain cover issue. If someone is experiencing déjà vu, they have a good reason to. Carlos Sainz's SF23 was demolished when he struck a drain during the first practice session for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. The massive piece of metal shattered his Ferrari's floor and blasted a hole in it, allowing him to view the asphalt from inside his cockpit. It's Las Vegas GP Friday practice all over again. I hope F1 is ready for the backlash. All of this has brought up the usual curb discussion again. Fans online were quick to provide F1 and its drivers with unconventional suggestion. Maybe if you keep the car on the track, you won't break your floor or damage the curbs. The curbs should be raised so that they cannot be misused like way. But the teams and drivers will whine instead of simply keeping away from the curbs. If only it were that simple. After all, the drivers will keep searching for the limits even if the curbs are raised. So, could there be a fix to problems like this? Leave your thoughts about the curb situation in the comments down below. But before everything came to a stop, we could see plenty of driving, so here are the latest results from the second day of F1 testing in Bahrain. Track temperatures neared 40 degrees Celsius with an air temperature of 23 degrees. Nevertheless, wind speeds had increased somewhat from the first day. The morning practice in Bahrain was cut short by the test's first red flag, but at the time of the stoppage, which occurred with 90 minutes remaining in the morning session, Charles Leclerc had achieved the quickest time of the day with a 1:31.750, bringing him closer to Max Verstappen's shockingly fast lap time from day 1. However, the half-second loss may be worsened by the warmer track conditions and stiff breeze, as the Red Bull's time was set in the cooler evening racing. Behind Leclerc, Oscar Piastri continued to show strong McLaren speed with a 1:32.3 to finish half a second slower than the Ferrari driver, while Logan Sargent offered Williams hope with a mid-1:32 following a difficult Wednesday for the Grove-based team. Sergio Perez, who took over for Verstappen on day 2, was delayed in the morning due to a tiny brake fire in the pits, but he finished 4th fastest at the red flag. Fernando Alonso and Lewis Hamilton were up next, with Zhou Guanyu finishing 7th for Stake F1. With Pierre Gasly's Alpine in 8th and Nico Hülkenberg in 9th, Yuki Tsunoda was the slowest of them, nearly 6 seconds off the pace, with the Japanese driver protesting vocally on the radio about the blustering wind. Exactly like we are used to hear from Tsunoda. These times aren't exactly telling just yet, but the bad luck at the Red Bull garage was. Max Verstappen had no troubles on the first day of testing in Bahrain, while his teammate Sergio Perez has struggled on day 2. The Red Bull driver's poor luck from last year continued when his RB20 brakes caught fire, followed by a red flag that stopped the morning practice early. The Mexican barely managed to complete 20 laps. The problem area is actually the front right. Ted Kravitz informed Sky Sports. "The front left is okay," the expert went on to say. Before Red Bull could return to the track following the fire, the Austrian constructors' technicians had to make a number of adjustments. Perez only ended up driving the RB20 on Thursday morning for 20 laps. Could he be set up for another season of disappointment? Apart from all the chaos surrounding day 2 of testing, we've also heard some comments from senior personnel about the new developments of rival teams. As following the cars' debuts, the Formula One teams in Bahrain revealed further information about their cars. Red Bull Racing is the clear favourite. But how does Red Bull see the competition? Pierre Wache, Red Bull Racing's technical director, addressed this during testing. During the first day of the winter test in Bahrain, Red Bull made a strong impression with the RB20. Max Verstappen could complete numerous laps in his new car and was, above all, incredibly quick. Red Bull's confidence in the upcoming season was already high, and it will only become stronger with this one. Nonetheless, Red Bull was alarmed by the competition. At the season's debut, not everyone revealed all about their new cars. Red Bull also hid several aspects of the new car in their published images. McLaren did the same thing, as Andrea Stella subsequently confessed. In Bahrain, all of the teams unveiled their actual cars for 2024, and a few things stood out. "Mercedes is surprising for me," Wache said in a conversation with the press. "Their concept is surprising. It's interesting. Aston also is quite good. I didn't have time to see the rest in more detail. They didn't reveal as much during their presentation, but I'm sure we'll find some interesting stuff." When asked what Red Bull was astonished by on the Mercedes W15, the Frenchman remarked, "The front wing is very interesting on the Mercedes." Wache's grin spoke volumes. When Mercedes unveiled this wing, many people were already questioning if it was legal. If the FIA allows it, Red Bull is likely to follow their competitors. Red Bull was looking excellent midway through the first day of testing when the interview was conducted. Verstappen recorded the quickest time and completed the most laps. The competition has fallen behind. Again, was already going around the paddock, but it is still merely testing. Wache, as a result, struggles to foresee who will provide the most challenging task. "I think it's the usual suspect of big teams. Mercedes, Ferrari and McLaren are the main worry, and after Aston Martin did a good job last year, I think it's clearly these 4 teams. I don't want to dismiss the others because I don't know, but from what I saw last year and the year before is what I would say." What do you think? Will any of the teams be able to challenge Red Bull? Another innovation we could see during testing was the introduction of air scoops to cool the drivers. This is because Formula One drivers fought hot temperatures during last year's Qatar Grand Prix. This disaster prompted the FIA to decide to strengthen driver safety in the cockpit. The FIA has now implemented a new regulation in response to the Qatar race, which saw 3 drivers pass out while behind the wheel, and Williams driver Logan Sargent withdraw due to the circumstances. The solution is to install an air scoop on the top of the nose portion, allowing air to travel straight to the driver. Some teams have been experimenting with similar methods during pre-season testing in Bahrain this week. The scoop was initially scheduled for 2023, but was postponed until this year because to worries from one team about the aerodynamic consequences. Red Bull seems to feature a twin scoop array, but Mercedes has a single scoop, as shown on George Russell's car. So enough to talk about from day 2. What is your feeling right now? Is your team performing? Or are you still worried for the upcoming season? Let us know in the comments down below. And we'll see you tomorrow for day 3 of testing.